Hello everybody and welcome to the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. My name is Jason C, and if you're a subscriber, thanks so much for the support. If you're new to the channel looking for the latest in whiskey and bourbon news and reviews, you have found the right place, so hit that subscribe button below and hit that bell notification so you know when I'm releasing a new video. So welcome to the 4th episode in a special series I call Double Bass, where you the viewers get to pick 2 great whiskeys to put head to head to see which one comes out on top. So after 3 episodes of having some great bourbon matchups and a rye matchup, today we have an epic scotch matchup that was voted on by Brandon Templeton to put Ardbeg 10 versus Port Charlotte 10. I've become a huge Ardbeg and Bruichladdich fanboy and couldn't wait to put these head to head, so thank you Brandon for a really cool suggestion. Now this head to head will be done blind, but these two may have more in common than you think, so let's find out more about our 2 contenders. Ardbeg has been called as close to perfection as makes no difference by whiskey connoisseurs. It's a whiskey that's worshipped around the world and has been named World Whiskey of the Year no less than 4 times out of the last 7 years. Their flagship bottle, enter Ardbeg 10. When a readily available scotch is affordable while also providing a perfect example of a specific region of malt, it becomes a classic. Ardbeg 10 is the lowest price and most widely available Ardbeg bottling today. This legendary peated dram is bottled at 46% ABV, which is 92 proof, contains a ppm of about 55, that's p parts per million. It's non-chill filtered and has no color added, aged in first fill and refill ex-bourbon oak casks, and can be had for a great price of about $50. Scotland's Bruichladdich distillery was revived in the early 2000s when a group of private investors purchased it and decided to give it new life. Originally built in 1881, it proudly operates with much of its original equipment, including its tall stills that run at a reported trickling rate. Port Charlotte 10 Year is a permanent addition to Bruichladdich portfolio and replaces the multi-vintage Scottish barley bottling. Made using 100% Scottish barley from the Inverness Shire region, this 10-year-old bottling matures in a variety of casks. 65% in first fill American whiskey, 10% in second fill American whiskey, and 25% in second fill French wine casks. Port Charlotte is peated to 40 ppm, bottled at 50% ABV. It is non-chill filtered, has no color added, and has a price point of about $65. Alright, so before we get started with the head-to-head, if you're not familiar with how I score, this is how I do it. I will give a score between 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest in 4 different categories: nose, palate, finish, and consistency. The scotch with the highest total score at the end of the matchup wins. Alright guys, so as I mentioned, I'll be doing this one blind. The bottles are gone. Really excited to put these head to head. I love Ardbeg so much for its price, the complexity. Bruichladdich and Port Charlotte I discovered fairly recently. I was a huge fan immediately. Being these are both 10 years old, peated, non-chill filtered, have no color added, and are affordable choices, this sets up an extremely difficult and intense matchup. So keep an eye on the scoreboard here as we work our way down. I'm going to call this one A and this one B. Keep an eye on the scoreboard. As you can see, the scores kind of pile up, and we'll see which one comes out on top at the end. So let's mix them up. All right, guys, so let's go to the first category, which is the nose. Let's get into it with glass A here. Here we go. Super sweet, super fruity on the nose here right off the bat. There is a good amount of peatiness to it. Not really overpowering, but man, the amount of fruitiness that's coming through on this glass, it's really incredible. There's some super rich, there's some dark fruits there, there's some lemon zest, a lot of sweet citrus notes too. I'm even getting like a rich, like a caramel note on here. Really interesting. Definitely getting a little hint of an oak characteristic there. There's a really nice spice to it, like almost like a peppery spiciness I'm getting right on the nose too. It's mainly sweet, it's very inviting. It's not too much, not a lot of peats coming through here. Again, it could just be me getting used to that peat, the peat scent and the nose that you get when you smell like a kind of a higher peated whiskey. But man, the lemon zestiness coming through here, the dark rich fruits, that caramel note that's on here, it's a really beautiful nose. Man, all right. Really like the nose on that one. Let's go to letter B and let's see what we get here. So this one's a little bit more smokier. It's a little bit darker, richer. So this one's a little bit smokier, but it's also a little bit sharper here on the nose too. So this one also has some rich fruit characteristics here. You're getting some oak. You're getting some sea salt in there too. There's definitely more of an ocean influence here on this one. Man, a lot of lemon again in this one too. A lot of lemon coming through. A little bit more of a smokier note on this one I'm getting too. There's a lot of, a little bit more of a peat aspect to it. Now remember, the Ardbeg is 46 and the Port Charlotte is 50. And none of these are really smelling any more alcohol forward than the other. So that's what's kind of screwing with me right now. Man, the noses are pretty similar, but one is definitely a little bit bolder than the other. This one has a little bit of a more of a smokiness aspect to it, more of that peat smoke coming through, but there are some really nice fruit, some underlying flavors here, a lot of sweetness, some really nice malted barley notes here. Man, this one's all over the place. Oh, man, trying to choose. I knew this was going to be a tough matchup, but already on the nose. But this one is just a classic peat, smoke, bacon. Both of them have some really beautiful sweet characteristics. This is going to be a rough one. Okay, I think I have my selections, so let's score them. All right, guys, so let's start with letter A here. I'm going to give this one, I think, about a 4.5. This one is really beautiful to nose. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It's got that really beautiful peat smoke. It's got some great fruit flavors. It's really complex. There's a caramel note in there. I know, but for me, all those extra little flavors were kind of impeding the peat smoke in that really beautiful peat that I like from a really good peated scotch. So I'm going to ding that a little bit, give it a 4.5. For this one, letter B, I'm going to give this one a 5. The nose on this is incredible. I love smelling whatever this one is. It's smoky, it's peaty, it's got a bacon aspect to it, a little bit of a sea salt to it as well. It's really complex, it's sharp. It just has nothing to hide. So I'm going to give this one a 5 and this one a 4.5. All right, guys, let's go to the next category, the palate. So let's go to letter A first. Cheers, everybody. Man, this one really coats the palate really well. Smoky, all those different, there's a really beautiful spice characteristic to this. A lot of fruits. Man, dark fruits. I'm talking like barbecue, dark, almost like stone fruit, some peaches, a little bit of apricot in there. That caramel aspect is coming through still on the palate. Really, really smoky, but not overdone. Let me go for another sip on this one. Cheers. Second sip, this one got a little bit sweeter. This one is just turning into just a beautiful sweet scotch. It's got some really beautiful kind of that burnt toast characteristic. It's got some honey. It's got some really beautiful barley characteristics to it. But it's got this lemon zest and this citrus that really kind of just like pings your taste buds here. It's really nice. Man, but the smoky aspect of the mouth coating, both of these are non-chill filtered. So, you know, the mouthfeel on these are really intense, really beautiful. Let's go in for one more sip here. Cheers. Yeah, man, this one almost got a little bit tropical there on that last sip. A little hint of coconut, maybe? That'd be crazy if I got coconut out of that one. Man. Yeah, the sweet flavors coming out of this one and the way it coats the palate. You know, it's offering a very nice, and this is, I'm not really talking about the finish yet. We'll get to that category. But just even on the palate alone, right on the sides of your tongue, right on the tip, it offers this spike, this little nice pepper kick of that barley and probably that, you know, a little bit of an alcohol kick there too. It's really, really beautiful. I'm going to go for one last sip on this one. It's getting sweeter. I mean, the peat it's not super strong on this one, but I mean, the sweet flavors in here and everything it's bringing, you know, flavor-wise, especially on the palate, the way it coats. This one is really, really strong. Really liking this one. All right, let's go to letter B and see what we get here. Cheers. Ooh. Oh, man, this one is the smoke difference that you get here on the nose. This one's really nice and smoky. It really kind of attacks the palate. You definitely get that peatiness right on the sides of your tongue. It's very spiky. It kind of comes in. It definitely lets you know it's there. There's some sweetness to it. Definitely a good amount of smoke. Let's go in for another sip here. Man, the sweetness characteristics in here. I'm getting a little bit of a caramel note here too, but I'm getting that sweet barbecue flavor. Man, just kind of coming through. There's some fruity characteristics. I'm still getting a good lemon zest, some citrus, maybe a little orange peel here, orange zest. Man, but yeah, I'm getting that sweet like meatiness to it, almost like barbecued peaches or barbecued lemon, like when you kind of set a lemon on fire. getting that type of smoke and sweet characteristic. Let's go for another sip here. Yeah, I really like the spikiness on this one. It's really coming in. It's kind of attacking the palate here. Man, the mouthfeel on it, the mouthfeel on both of these is really incredible. This one's definitely got a little bit of a sweeter aspect to it. This one's kind of coming through like a freight train, really kind of hitting all the senses here, really coating the palate well. But yeah, the lemon zest notes, that beautiful barley characteristic, the peatiness really coming through, really offering that beautiful spike of barbecue almost on the palate. This one's really good. I'm going to go for one more sip here. And that's staying even keel, man. That is just still attacking the palate with every single sip, really staying true to form here. Man, again, both of these are so unique and again are so delicious in each in their own way. It's going to be a little bit harder to score the palate, so let me think about it. All right, so let's score each glass. This one I'm going to give a 4.5. The amount of flavor in that you get on the palate in this one is really incredible. It comes in with such a beautiful rounded fruit flavor, some caramel, even got a hint of a tropical note on here, which I didn't think would be in either of these glasses. Really beautiful. It has a good proof point to it. It definitely coats the palate really nicely, being non-chill filtered, being pretty good proof on either of these. So I'm going to give this one a 4.5. It's just a beautiful mouthfeel, flavor, roundness, really great character in here. All right, now for this glass, I'm also going to give this one a 4.5. The way this glass kind of attacks the palate, the way you really get that really beautiful peat smoke, the way it coats the palate, also being non-chill filtered, it just really gives you such an intense flavor profile. I really love the peat aspect of this, that smoky bacon flavor, a little bit of a sea salt characteristic, some lemon zest, some orange zest, maybe some grilled peach type aspect to it. I mean, just really beautiful. Both of these on the palate are absolutely phenomenal. So that's why I'm giving both of these a 4.5. All right, guys, let's go into my favorite category, the finish. Let's see what we get on letter A. Here we go. Cheers. Yeah, the finish I love the finish on this one. It's leaving a longing impression here right on the back of the palate. It's also providing some really unique fruit flavors. I think I'm getting like a coconut aspect to it. It's really crazy. Maybe a mango or something there. That's crazy. Let me go for one more sip here. Cheers. Man, the spiciness in there, that barley, that really beautiful barley characteristic, it's just really attacking the palate. And especially on the finish, it's just lingering. And the finish is pretty long. I mean, it's working its way down. I would say this is more medium to long here. Really kind of working its way down really nicely. Providing some of those really beautiful fruit flavors. I'm still getting this like tropical aspect to it, which is just crazy. Yeah, but the rounded fruit flavors, I'm still getting a nice caramel note on there too. Let me go for one more sip here. The finish on this one is just beautiful. It's got all the smoke, the fruit, the sweetness, some caramel flavors to it. Like I said, a little bit of a tropical aspect to it. That's a beautiful finish on that one. All right, let's go to letter B and let's see what we get. Cheers. So this one is really kind of staying true even through the finish. Really kind of coming through like a freight train here. The finish on this one, it's very, this one it's a lot more citrusy. This one is coming off a little bit more tropical almost. This one just has a ton of citrus, but has a beautiful, that smoky, like meaty bacon type flavor on the finish. Let's go for another sip here. Cheers. This one, I don't think this one is as long as this one here. This one is a little bit more rounded, a little bit more sweet. This one is coming through with a lot more of a smoke aspect, a little bit more of a punch to it. It kind of hits you harder, which is interesting, but then it goes away a little bit quicker than this one. So let's go for one last sip here. Cheers. Yeah, exactly. So on this one, the flavor comes in really like 100 miles an hour, but once it gets about here, it just kind of stops. You're still getting that smokiness, the meatiness there, all those citrus notes. It's really beautiful. A little bit of a sea salt there too on the finish. It's just not as long as this one. So, all right. So I think I have my scores for this one. So let's do it. All right, guys. It is time to score the finish. For this one, I'm going to give this one a 4. It's not a super long finish, but the flavors and the way that it works its way down, it gives you those tropical fruit notes and some of those caramel aspects to it. It's really incredible. So I have to give this one a solid 4. Really beautiful finish. It's not getting any higher than that because it's not super long, but it's definitely lasting a little bit longer than this one. Whereas this one, I'm going to give this one a 3.5. It comes through kind of like a freight train, really hits you. It leaves a beautiful smoke, kind of bacon characteristic to it right on the back end. But, you know, it just doesn't last as long as this one. I wish it lasted just a little bit longer. But still, both of them offer really unique and really incredible finishes. All right, this is our last category. Let's go into letter A. Here we go. Cheers. So for consistency, this is what, my 8th sip of this? This is, except for the first sip, which always is pretty intense, this one has stayed pretty true since that second sip that I took. It is staying with really intense fruit flavors, really beautiful finish on this one, as we just found out. All those intense, that the one that's kind of putting it over for me is that it's got this really beautiful caramel note to it, and that pepperiness. But the tropical note on here is something so different, something I really don't get in a peated whiskey too often, at least the ones that I've had. Just a really beautiful dram. Let's go in for one more sip here. Cheers. You're still getting the same experience here from the beginning to the end. It's staying very consistent. It's really kind of giving you the same experience with each sip. The peat will dissipate a little bit, so I might ding it for that, but what it's making up for it in that is these really beautiful sweet flavors that are coming out, including those tropical notes, some of that really nice peat smoke, and that spiky barley note that I just love on a good peated whiskey. All right, let's see what B has to offer. Here we go. Cheers. Man, both of these are staying pretty consistent, I gotta say. This one it's still coming through like a freight train, attacking the palate with smoke, with some sea salt, a little bit of that smokiness to it. Well, a lot of smokiness, I should say. Some of that sweet bacon flavor. Really great. Let's go in for one more sip. I mean, both of these are so good. It's really hard for me to kind of distinguish which one I like better. They're both very unique and they both offer something a little bit different. But this one is also staying really consistent as well. It's giving you that kind of that intense peat characteristic to it right on the front. And as it's worked its way back, it's really kind of staying true. I think the only thing that this one is a little bit less consistent at is that finish, which we found out in the last round, where the finish dissipates a little bit from sip to sip. One more dram here. Here we go. I mean, this is all front of the palate, mid palate. As soon as it gets to the back, it stays for a quick second, and it just kind of fades away a little bit quicker than this one does. So, as for consistency, both of these are pretty close, but I think one of them is just a little bit more consistent, or offers a little bit more of a longer flavor profile as you go from sip to sip. All right, guys, it is time to score consistency. So for letter A, I'm going to give this one a 4.5. Man, this has stayed consistent from the first sip or the second sip all the way to the last one, to the last round here. It's really stayed strong. It's really stayed true. The flavors, the only reason why I didn't give this a 5 is because you lose a little bit of the peatiness in there, and then it just gets really sweet as you keep sipping it. So the peat will kind of fade a little bit, and then you'll get more of those sweet flavors in there, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do want to taste more of that spiky peatiness to it. But the way that it coats the palate, the way that it finishes, the way that it kind of gives you all these different types of notes, including tropical notes as well, at least for me, is the reason why I gave it a 4.5. So for consistency, I'm going to give Glass B a 4 here. I'm going to give this one a 4 only because as you keep sipping on it, the finish kind of goes away and it gets a little bit lighter on the back end, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for everyone. But for me, I really want to kind of, I want those spiky notes right on the back end, the barley and the peat and the, that pepperiness that kind of sticks on the back of the palate. This one definitely brought that, but this one did not. Even though this one kind of attacks your palate and the flavors in this are amazing, just as you keep sipping on it, the flavors kind of go away, whereas this one the flavors stuck around a little bit more. All right, guys, so as you can see from the scoreboard on the side here, coming in with a winning 17.5, only winning by a half a point was letter A here. Coming in with a solid 17 is letter B. Let's find out what the winning dram was. Here we go. Oh, coming in, the winning dram is Port Charlotte, coming in with a 17.5 against the Ardbeg 10, coming in with a solid 17. So the Port Charlotte 10, I think if you're looking for a sweeter peated scotch experience, and this one is going to be the way to go. It definitely brings some more fruit flavor. It's a little bit more rounded. I think with those different cask finishes they use and the blend together, it really brings a different flavor profile. It's a little bit more rounded, that intense caramel notes, some tropical notes. It's definitely different. Now this one is 50% ABV as opposed to the 46% here, but this one just is a little bit more complex in a flavor profile. Now if you just want a freight train of a peated scotch, one that's going to attack your palate, one that's going to bring you all those smoke notes, some sea salt there, a little bit of a smoky bacon characteristic, then Ardbeg 10 is the way to go. You could have this for about $50, which is $15 cheaper than this. It's only 4 ABV points below this one at 46, and offers really intense flavors. So if any of you guys out there have been staring at these two on the shelves wondering which one to get, I hope that I've helped you a little bit on what to select. Alright guys, well thanks again for watching this episode of the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room for the 4th episode of Double Bass. This was an absolute intense matchup, loved every second of it. Port Charlotte only winning by half a point. Keep those suggestions coming, you guys are offering up really great suggestions. Really appreciate it. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram and also find me on Twitter. Let me know if you've put these head to head or if you're planning to. And as I always say, it is not about the whiskey, it is the people you share it with. So cheers, and I'll see you next time on the Mash and Drum. Take care.